All right, hey YouTube. I'm here tonight on my second episode of Drinking with the Pros, and I got Bike Painter Mike.
YouTube.
So, here we are sitting with Mike. He is my friend. In that direction. And he's a really good painter. I call him Bike Painter Mike here on this video, but he paints more than just bikes, but he does some really awesome work on bikes. And I'm not talking about, like, you know, your Huffy. I'm talking about motorcycles. And before we get started again, I want to say this video tonight was brought to you by, well, nobody but me, Mr. Adventurous. I'm drinking Bud Light. Mike is drinking Senior Jack Daniels. Out of
Measuring cup.
Why are you drinking out of a measuring cup?
Well, if you're gonna measure something and paint it right, you're gonna drink it right, you gotta measure it right.
See, your first tip from Painter Mike.
Yes, sir. Nice hair. Love
Thank
that
you.
hair.
Thank
buddy.
you.
Very nice.
I just grew it last night.
It's quick.
I went and listened to one of those commercials on the radio. I was having
Infomercial.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was having some hair loss issues, and they're like, try our product. 10 out of 10 men agree that it grows hair. I was like, nah. I can't tell you which one it is because they're not endorsing this video. As soon as they start endorsing videos, you'll be the first to know.
Lustrous hair. So, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, I figured we could talk about how you got your start into painting. I see you brought your example up, sitting on the table.
I tell you what, fingerprinting, painting with the pros. Finger painting with the pros. Anybody who wants to get started in something like this is how I started out. As a young lad, it's very informational. It's got a lot of instructions in there. Teaches you technique, color combination, color tree, the color wheel. That's all you need to know.
Best part is you can use your fingers.
Oh, sure.
All of them, not just two. All of them.
All of them.
Yeah. Including
Three
your
of
thumb.
them. Two of them.
Hey, and like it says, quick and easy. Very quick, instructional. That's how I learned. But here, we'll put that right there for the moment. It's good enough. What else there, sir? How we doing? Good?
We're really hitting the meat and potatoes on this interview, aren't we?
Yeah.
All right. So, in all seriousness, Mike paints. He's a really good painter, like a professional automotive painter. And as I've said in my previous video and every video after this, my goal is for all of us to sit down and just learn something in a day of the life of the guy who knows what they're doing, or the woman. Sorry.
Politically.
So today we're talking to Mike, and he's one of the best painters I know. Automotive painters. Clarify.
Yeah.
Any idiot can use a freaking roller on a wall. Actually, that's not necessarily true.
Measure.
But so we're going to talk about some of the things that he's done, some of the cooler bikes that he's painted, some of the cooler paint jobs he's done, and maybe a few little techniques, something. And if you're a high school kid going through what do you call it, a VOED. So if you're a kid going, or even an adult going through like a VOED thing or a community college program for like auto body. I went through an auto body program, and you're wondering some ideas of what it's going to be like and like what you can graduate yourself up to.
Did you go through this program?
Pretty sure I was eating the glue while everyone else was playing with that.
I was sniffing it. See, that's the problem.
All right.
That's a good painter right there. Let him do his thing.
Sniff the paint.
Let him roll.
And that's why he now has a respirator everywhere he goes.
I do.
So, in the very basics of, let's just say you got a motorcycle, goes, hey, I got this cool motorcycle. I want a flame job. What's your steps on that? First step, motorcycle rolls in, biker dude's like, fuck it up, I kill you.
Yeah, it
Wait.
happens. It does.
Well, apparently not
So-
for you yet. you're still here painting. But like, what's your first step? How would you even like tell a guy like, hey, I got some cool shit I can do to your bike. Don't kill me if you don't like it. Because that's one of the things that's always scared me about, like, if I'm going to take this on, well, what if I fuck it up?
And that's an issue. Definitely an issue. First of all, take it home, take it apart, bring me the tins, and I'll paint it from there.
So generally, you don't take the bike apart. They just bring you everything they want painted.
Unless it's a very custom bike and you need to lay the bike out to make it flow, then I would have them bring the whole bike. But if it's a simple little task, hey, a solid color, some flames, no big issue. So, but generally, yeah, they'll take it apart. They'll bring me the tins, and we'll go from there. They'll give me an idea what they want, and I'll do it.
I bought an airbrush like 6 years ago, and I bought some watercolor to put in there, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do some cool things with this. And I got the little curly cues, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do some cool flames.
First mistake, fingerprint paint first. You went right to the second step.
See, we're learning. I jumped the gun. With an airbrush, I just picture somebody's got an airbrush and they're literally just like if they take a pencil and they're drawing every little thing. But there's a lot more to an airbrush.
Oh.
Like you have cards with designs and everything that you can use to help make shapes and shit, right?
Yeah, it's true. There are true artists out there who can use an airbrush and actually just free design their stuff, but a lot of his stencils today, special plaques, graphics, cards that you use to help maintain certain projects that you're doing. You gotta know how to shadow, you gotta know how to 3D effect, and it all comes with time, experience. For instance here, do a lot of graphics. A lot of guys want their bikes now, they're long, they got the bad boy, long fenders, long stuff, and you just can't paint that because there's a lot of bike there. So you want to follow the body lines, do curves, do a lot of graphics, flake, metal, flames, graphics. I said graphics twice.
Looks like a woman.
All right. Well, for instance, a gentleman last couple weeks wanted a spider web paint job. Well, I'm tired of doing paint jobs with spider webs. You get the card, you do the airbrush work, you pull the card off, it's a stencil, there's your airbrush spider web unit. So I said, you know what, let's be creative, let's think of something different. So I actually mixed up some clear.
In his measuring cup.
Yes. Took it outside, seen a live spider web, sprayed the web down with clear coat. It crystallized, it hardened. I peeled the web off, laid it on the fender of the gentleman's bike, sprayed my tint over it, pulled the web off, and there you have a live spider web stencil, basically. And it came out real nice. It was unique. It's different.
So that's
you just got to be creative in what you do.
You just telling me that. Tell me about this spider web thing a little bit ago. That fucking blew my mind. Like I'm
blew my mind because it worked.
But yeah, you get into stuff like this. You know, this isn't like a Wendy's job where you're gonna flip a burger and you're gonna flip a burger, you're gonna flip a burger, and you're gonna flip a burger. You're gonna have this Harley come in or this Shadow come in. So I mean, every bike's gonna be different, and you're gonna have something different to figure out. And then whatever they want designed on it, you're gonna be like, I could just like print out that thing and just slap it on there, throw some clear on it, and be like, yeah, I did that. Or you could be legit fucking spraying spider webs and cobwebs out of the corner and then putting it on there and getting some really cool freaking effects out of it. All right, so Mike, like, I don't know how popular it is now, but I know, I mean, it's always been popular, especially old hot rodders. You know, you get the old rat rods or anything else, but a flame job, you know, whether it's a T-bucket or a deuce coupe or a motorcycle, like, what's your standard go-to procedure for doing a flame job?
Well, every job is unique, as you would know. Every body line, every contour is unique. You just need to stick in your head the project, visualize it, tape the lines out, make them follow the body lines, make sure they're crisp, cut, good stuff like that. It takes a lot of time, a lot of talent. And once you get that laid down, you want to proceed with the paint. You'll do a lot of testing, a lot of pulling off, a lot of wiping off, a lot of redoing.
Crap.
So a true custom paint job guy is going to know how to lay tape. If you don't know how to lay tape, you're not going to get very far in this profession, in custom paint, show paint. But that's what you want to do. You want to lay it out. You want to follow the body lines. You got to make sure it flows with the vehicle you're working with, whether it's a bike, stretch tanks, stretch saddlebags, roll with it, lay it down, tape it off, paint it, make it look good.
You're 100% correct on the taping. Even just like a standard body shop. So you just wrecked your car and you take it in a local body shop.
Yeah.
They fix shit,
They
get your car back.
Yep.
It looks all right. Or you take it over to the Mako. Usually the in and out, like $300 paint job is because they just like threw tape at it, like, close enough. Get overspray all over everything. And that's just masking, not
I
even
worked at
design.
Mako for one day.
Why is that?
Why is that? The quality, man. It's all about reputation, man. You want to do something, you want to do it right, you want to do it right the first time. Guy doesn't want to bring back or come and say, hey, man, my paint's done. I come there, and it looks like shit. It's got runs. It doesn't match. It's mismatched. It's crap. It's orange peeled. Nobody wants that, right? My
Absolutely
philosophy is do it once, do it right, get paid. Right?
At the end of the day, everybody loves
right.
what they do, and you got to be very proud of what you do.
It is a passion. I don't do it because I need to. I do need to, but I don't want to do it because of that. I enjoy what I do. It's a passion. Is this yours?
It sure is. Thank you,
Are
sir.
you allowed to show that?
Sure.
I forgot what we were talking about. Oh, passion. You got to be passionate about what you do. It's not a hobby. It's something you really want to do to enjoy. Get your name out there. Make the customer proud. And it makes you proud. It turns around.
And see, that's kind of what I wanted to do this Drinking with the Pros thing about. Being a true professional and just having a position. The real difference is when you actually truly have pride in what you do. And, I mean, everybody knows this. You can just look at this. Go to freaking McDonald's. This has happened to me twice. Went to McDonald's, got a cheeseburger, open up the wrapper. I got a bun and a pickle and ketchup. And that was it. There was no fucking burger. That means that nobody there gives a shit because they have no pride in the job. But you know what? If I was working at McDonald's, I'd have pride. Every single burger I put out would look just like the commercial. I'm getting sidetracked a little bit. But it all boils down to be a professional at your job, you got to have pride in it.
You know, I
having
used to
pride in it.
airbrush hamburgers and stuff for Wendy's on their commercials, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, see?
That's
All
crazy.
gotta look good.
But it all shows. When you have pride in your work, it really comes out. Whether
It
it doesn't
does
matter
come
what
out.
it is.
That's right.
Having
It-
pride it shows in the quality of your work. Otherwise, you just slam, bam, thank you, ma'am. You're done. You go home. You got your paycheck. You don't give a shit.
You want your stuff to stand out, okay? My whole philosophy the last 30 years is get better, progress. So getting to that point, I've always told my customers, if you don't like it, you don't pay for it. I'll make it right. It's your bike, not mine. It's your colors, not mine. So,
Speaking of colors,
yeah. Is this a racial thing?
no.
Okay.
Paint products. So
Yo,
you've got
huge.
I mean, there's
It's
a million out there.
right here, buddy.
I'm sure you could talk for hours on this. I only know of a handful. I hobby around in my garage. I have a couple old cars. Like I said, I went to a Voeg thing in high school. So I've got basic auto body paint knowledge. The few I'm familiar with is like PPG, DuPont, and then you get the few higher end ones I know is like House of Colors. I feel like when you paint, what's your go-to? What's your go-to for what you do? And if you're doing just like a solid color versus like candy. I know like candy is, you use House of Colors I think a lot, right? For the candy colors, and I kind of what they're
often.
known for.
To get to your point, A, B, or C, PPG, DuPont, Excel, House of Colors, Atlas,
These are Mackenzie's.
doesn't really matter. Paint is paint, all right? Yeah, you'll have your qualities of paint, but you're going to pay for the name. If you go out to get a cobalt blue, okay, I'm going to go DuPont.
Wait.
Why? Why spend that $300 for that quart of paint when you can get it in their secondary brand, which is Nissan. Paint is paint.
Okay.
I believe it all comes down to how you reduce it. That's reducing of the paint so it flows.
So when you get like a quart of paint, you're gonna get your pigment, your flake, or whatever is gonna be in there, and then you're gonna have to take something else and reduce it down and
You've
thin
done
it
your
so that you
homework.
can spray
That's
it.
exactly right.
So-
And it all comes down to...
And there's different ratios. This much I know. That's why
Yeah.
you go and get the cups, and it'll have 1-to-1, 1-to-3, and all that. That's the most basic version of it. And it's one of the things. Like a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't understand. Like
Hey,
now, off
it's
the showroom,
like cooking. It's like cooking.
You have recipes.
You add your tablespoon of butter, your tablespoon of milk, your salt, your teaspoon. It all comes down to the ratio, how you paint it, and the equipment you use to paint it. Now, in my past history, I started out cheap, like any other guy would.
First
Right?
first spray gun I ever bought was I think like a $10 one I got at swap meet, and it was like the fucking can.
Oh,
It was a
oh,
can,
yeah,
old
yeah,
can one.
yeah.
It wasn't an HVLP. I ended up going up to, I think it was Napa or AutoZone. I think I spent $20 or $30 on a HVLP
I don't
Napa
think
gun.
AutoZone was around back then, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not that old.
Yeah, how old are you?
19. But you know, I went and bought just a cheap HVLP, and it kind of broke me into it when I was in high school. Yeah, it worked, and it wasn't really until Mike let me borrow one of his guns that was the legit version of an HVLP gun, and I think it was like $1,000 gun
It's a quality gun,
versus
yeah.
a $40 gun. It's so much different. Like here's a saying I always say.
Yeah.
You know, the tools don't make the carpenter, but when the carpenter has good tools, it makes him a better carpenter. So it's
believe in that.
kind of it's
Absolutely.
the same kind of thing. You can be a good painter with a shit gun, but you're a much better painter if you're a good painter already with a good gun.
And for all the painters out there, I will elaborate a little bit on this. When you get a cheap gun, you're forcing air through the gun and the paint out of the gun. What you want is complete atomization of the paint and the air. So the better the gun, the better the atomization, the better the panel that you're laying down in your paint.
Because that's a big thing. Is
That's a
consistency.
huge thing because you can use the best paints, the best catalysts, the best hardeners. Use a cheap gun, or you can use a top of the line gun, and you will swear that you use the shittiest materials versus the top materials, just depending on your gun. All right, your gun has to be set up correctly. It has to be set up correctly with your reducers and your paints to get the atomization, to get it to flow and look even, especially doing metallics and pearls. I mean, painting is a bitch. I ain't gonna tell you that. Anybody can lay paint down. You can lay the paint down. Okay, you can, you screw up, it looks blotchy. But the key to a great paint job is distance, pressure, atomization, and clearing. Everybody hates the clear paint.
It's the most
All right.
boring part.
To me, it's the most fascinating part.
See,
All right?
every time I've done it, the first coat, once you put it over, you're like, yeah, we're shiny. But then it's like, all right, now it's kind of like icing the cake. It's like, yeah, I know it's going to be there. It's not even icing the cake. It's like getting the icing ready for the cake. Because the real cool part is when you're cutting and buffing, and then you're getting that.
I love the cake aspect, all right?
Yeah.
Painting, getting the paint down, clearing it, you have a fine line. You're always on a fine line from being perfect to running. You bring a cake home, you got the icing done, it looks beautiful. You come home, there's heat in your back trunk, whatever. It's run. All right,
And you just ruined your wife's
you just
fucking
ruined-
anniversary.
It's done.
And now you're
all
a
right?
douche.
You can't
She hates
touch
you.
that up. You gotta go buy a new one. All right.
Yeah, wife.
There's a
Yeah.
fine line in painting, especially clearing. Like I was saying, it intimidates a lot of guys. Whether it's a big project or a small project, you have to take it to that edge. If you want a quality job and you don't
Yeah.
want to spend your next 3 days wet sanding blips and dirt and runs and
Which-
all that,
I've done a lot of that.
which costs a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of material. It takes practice, but with the right gun and the right product and the right mixing ratios, You can
See?
look like a king.
Look, it's easy. He just said it's easy. It isn't.
Hey,
And everything he's talking about, the little knowledge I have in it is truly a fucking art and a science all at the same time.
It is easy. I can't use hairspray like you. I mean, come on. I can't do that.
I have a 1955 Chevy that I had a long time, and I really wanted the car for our wedding. And Mike came over and helped me with that thing. It was intimidating. You know, a 55 Chevy, this is a 4-door. There's a lot of fucking car. There's a lot of metal on that thing. There's a lot of paint. There's a lot to take in, and all at once, Mike came over, and when somebody's good at what they do and they're helping you, it makes it less daunting. Even though it's a big project, when you're talking to somebody who knows what they're talking about, it makes it so much easier to work on it because you have a question and they have the answer. Or they'll tell you how to get there or how to get to that point. And that's the difference between a professional and an amateur that, hey, I was so concerned about this straight panel. 55 Chevy, it's got a big fucking tail fin. You're 57, 55, 56, whatever, but you get so much flat between the doors and the taillight. I'm freaking out. Like, there's just no way in my mind I'm ever going to get this straight. And he just gave me some tips. Like, hey, go this way, go that way, go this way, go that way, and check it. I was like, that's a lot easier than me. I was taking a little sander like this, but what are you doing?
I'm measuring my beer to ice ratio. Gotta stay hydrated, right?
You're right. You're right. 100% right. Gotta keep that precision.
If you want perfection, gotta ratio it out. Sorry, go ahead, continue.
All right, so, just long story short, Mike helped me out with that 55 Chevy, and I'll put a picture up in here. That thing turned out freaking awesome. Wouldn't have been for him, I would have never gotten this thing done in time.
It turned out awesome just in time.
Yes.
Right? Just in time.
It had like less than a month, I think, to turn this turd of a car into something that could drive away at our wedding. And it turned out really cool.
Amazing. Amazing.
And,
Wasn't it 2 nights before?
well,
It was pretty ridiculously
the
close.
night before the wedding, while she was at the hotel room with the bridesmaids and all this and that, I was in the garage trying to buff and polish and put on the last few little pieces of trim and chrome on that thing. And yeah, it was a last minute, can't believe it actually happened type of thing. And as fast as it happened and turned out great.
Welcome to the painter's world.
Amazing.
To his credit, he did 90% of the work. I just helped him out with his college credits there. Had his little school there. He did a great job. Just took a little 10% of me helping him out, but it turned out great. 10%. He did a good job, actually. 10, 90, 80, 70.
You're giving me too much credit, but speaking of that, when I was in school, if you were going vo-ed, you weren't going to college. You're told, well, if you don't go to college, you're going to get a shit job. You're never going to make any money. So tell everybody the kind of money you can make just working, even in a regular, if you're in a regular body shop or like a smaller body shop, and you're really good at what you do. Like, you can be a body guy or a painter in a body shop, even just a regular shop, and make pretty good money. You don't have to have a 4-year degree to make good money.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
Especially if you get good, then you venture off into doing some sort of custom work. You can make a lot of money, right?
Correct.
Would you guys be quiet out there? We're trying to have a conversation.
He's off and on with the phone.
That beer's got a lot of head.
Yep, it does.
Actually, it's almost got no head.
Speaking of which.
Hey.
All right, yes, James. All right, James. Can I call you
Might
James?
need to add a little bit more.
Call me James, Dan, whatever.
Dan, you're correct. The problem right now is that a lot of people are going into the little computers and doing all their little stuff here, and they're making their money. Great. But we are losing a lot of technical, skilled trades out there. One of them is painting. I get a lot of paint jobs, a lot of reoccurring paint jobs, a lot of them sent from all over the country because nobody can match what somebody did 10 years ago or anybody could do now. So the trade is a good trade. If you're artistic, you're good at what you do, you can make a lot of money at this job, at basically anything artistic, whether it be whatever.
But you're going to work hard. You're not going to be sitting on it. I mean, and it's a labor of love, though.
You're
Same
gonna-
kind of thing. I mean, not necessarily hard,
when
but you're not going to be sitting at a desk going,
You can name your price. There's not a lot of people that do it. There's a lot of backyard mechanics, which has nothing wrong with that. That's where I came from. And you could be good at it, you could be skilled at it, and you could make a lot of money at it. My typical paint jobs range from, let's say if I was painting the full car like James Chevy, you could charge anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 for that paint job, and it would take you, whatever, say 30 days, 60, 90 days, whatever it may take. You name your price, you do it right, you do a quality job, you can make a lot of money at it.
And that's the other thing I was going to ask you. You know, we touched on it basically with like a Mako job. You run up with Mako, hey, you don't like the color of your Civic? Let's run down to Mako. I don't like green anymore. We're going to go blue. Well, you're getting the whatever, I don't even know what it costs anymore. But, you know, but if you start getting into like high-end paint jobs, you know, you got a 69 Chevelle and you want that thing paid, and you go around, you're getting quotes. You know, this guy might be like, I'll do it for $2,000. This guy might be like, all right, I'm $12,000. How does that work? Because I mean, you could take them to paint. So what's the difference between this $2,000 guy and the $12,000 guy? Other than maybe the one guy is just like so hungry for money. He might be like the best guy in the world. He's so hungry and broke. Then again, you might not want that guy because he might be like cracked out in the corner half the time.
James, hey, it's a great question.
But what
differentiates those two? And I tell you what, I've done $2,000 jobs that would normally cost $10,000 jobs.
Yeah.
Are you desperate for work? Do you want the money? Can your materials cost up to what you're going to produce at the end? It all depends. But again, it all comes down to quality, the material you're using.
Which, believe it or not, people, is a lot more than you would think. This golf cart. And Mike's going to
We're going to paint that for
we'll throw a picture up. Last night I put a lift on it, and I'm missing some pieces, parts, whatever though.
A couple of them.
He's gonna help me paint this thing, and we're gonna do some. You know, it's gonna be more him.
This is what it looks like now.
Yeah. And
we'll get back to you with how it's gonna look.
Yeah. So make sure you check over into my. I don't know if I'm gonna have a playlist for this, but go through my other videos and look for the golf cart build, because there's gonna be some videos on this golf cart build. And if you do that, you'll kind of get an idea of what is going to go into this. And Mike's going to do a lot of super cool. Well, you say what you'd have in mind. I was going to buy some vinyl wrap, fuck it all up, do a very bad job at it. And he's like, "Why would you do that? Let's fucking paint it." And that's what we're going to do. And like, what would you have in mind for this thing? And like, what?
I tell you what, right now. You got a lift kit on it. You got black, you got silver, you got chrome. We're gonna do it up. It's gonna be cobalt blue. It's gonna be sweet ass graphics. James is gonna help me.
I might learn it something.
He might learn to something, and we'll get with that. We'll do it. We'll post it. It'll look good, as all of our jobs do, from amateurs to pros.
Thank you, Sue. That random arm that came in there and snatched my empty beer, that's Sue. That's Mike's wife.
Hot. Smack it.
That's another video.
Yes.
But all right, let's see. What do we want to end on here? All right, give us the quick rundown. Very basic, step by step. Bike rolls in the shop to when the bike leaves.
You're going to go over all of his bodywork. You're going to fix his dings, his dents. You might even strip it down to bare metal. All right? Me, I like stripping them down to bare metal. I know what I'm working with.
Yeah, then you know what you're starting with. So, like 2 years down the road, if something starts flaking and peeling, it wasn't because of the last guy's paint job or something.
So I strip them all down. They'll go through my bodywork process. You know, add your Bondo, add your fiberglass, whatever it may be. Seal coat it, primer it, get it straight, seal coat it, then put on your base coat.
So hold on, he He really dumbed that down.
I
So
did.
when you,
Then I'm going to strip it down to bare metal.
Yeah.
I'm going to do my body work
on the bare metal, and
on
then,
the bare metal. Then I'm going to prime what I have there. Once I know it's good, I'm going to prime it. When it's primed at a great stage where I think it's good enough,
so you mean like a high build prime, like a workable prime, or
it's a high build prime. It fills all your imperfections in your paint job. It gives you that straightness. Then you'll block sand it. In this case, it's a bike. You know what I mean? You'll hand sand it. You'll do a lot of work to it. It takes a lot of time. So once you get it to that point where you're happy with it, then I'll put a seal coat on it, a quality seal coat. Again, I only use DuPont PPG, but when it comes to paint, I'll use whatever. Paint doesn't matter to me. It's got the same consistency. You can buy $200 paint or you can buy $80 paint. Doesn't matter. It all comes down to preparation of the sheet metal.
your foundation that you build off of.
That's right.
You know, you're starting with a good product to begin with, bare metal. You have to build that foundation up.
That's right. Yeah. I mean,
So you know what you're going to do. So if you start with something that you know and step by step get it up to something good.
I'll elaborate a little bit. Bare metal. Say you have a flat piece of steel. All right. Well, that steel, when you take all the paint off of it, it's got waffles and waves in it. So what you do is you prime that, you do your body work, you make it flat, you sand it, you get it straight, you X-file it, you add the primer to fill in all the imperfections, you sand it down to make it flat as glass. If it's not flat, if it's not perfect, it's wavy, it's blotchy, it's denting, and when you put a pearl coat or a metallic coat on top of it, it'll seem deeper in your paint job. You'll look and say, wow, why is the color inconsistent? That's because of preparation. The foundation wasn't correct. It all comes down to preparation, foundation, and you work from there.
The spraying part, that is an
Anybody can
art
do
in
it.
and of itself. But the body work underneath that is really what you see. A lot of what I believe is the difference between a $2,000 paint job and a $12,000 paint job is the man hours involved and the man doing the freaking body work to get the panel straight. Because like you said, you're going to put it down to bare metal, do some body work, get everything pretty goddamn close, and prime and block and prime and block and prime until everything is... And if you don't do that, there are stages when, like, I've done this, where I'm like, it's close enough. And then you just spray it and go. I hate to admit it, but I've done it. Now he'll spend 16 years on one little panel like this to make it perfect, because it has to be perfect. And that's the difference. And that's really where I think a lot of the money is in a high-end job.
And that's
it's
the
the
kind of
man
guy
hours.
you want. That's the guy you want. You want that
Absolutely.
guy to give you a quality job that will last years and years and years. All right. If you use the cheap materials, you slack, you do a cheap job, the shit will flake, it will peel, it will look like crap in 6 months. Nobody wants. You're gonna pay $2,000 for a paint job on 4 pieces of tin. You want it to last 14 years. Period.
Yeah, a good paint
So-
job should last a really long time.
A good paint job should last a long time, a very long time.
Besides this golf cart build, eventually down the road, once this golf cart is out of this garage, I think Mike's probably going to be about done with me on this one, but my 73 Mustang convertible is coming in this garage.
I can't wait for that one.
It's coming in here, and I'm going to start working. I started working on it 2 years ago. Had some injuries, and the other things happened, and it's been sitting for 2 years, and it's driving me nuts. But it's going to be coming back in this garage. So this isn't the last time you're seeing Mike. I'm going to be calling him probably quite a bit.
Skip.
All right, so I hope you all learned something. Stop talking over there for a second.
No.
The goats get in the garage?
Go. Talk.
I hope we all learned something here.
And I will take questions. You just send them down to the bottom of that YouTube page.
Absolutely.
We'll
if you have a
answer them.
question, shoot us a comment. Say it.
What
What's
kind
your
of
question?
questions?
Any kind of question.
Any question. You got a question on anything.
Make sure you hit subscribe follow along for every episode of Drinking with the Pros. And keep an eye out for the golf cart build and somewhere down the road, the Mustang build. Thanks for watching.
And I'll tell you what, if his hands ain't dirty, he ain't doing a good job. Thank you.
Cheers to that.
Absolute. Where is Absolute at? Vodka?
Even that hair.
It's driving me nuts.
You could be a real woman over there.
I'd be a beautiful
You
woman.
should start twirling at.
That's what I was trying
No,
to
I
do.
So-
You do a lot of editing, huh?
Yes.
Oh, yes.